Hello, everyone, and welcome to Concordia University's Fourth Space. For the next installment in our Closer Look series, looking behind closed doors and into spaces and projects you might not know about here at Concordia. Today, we are taking a closer look at the urban gardens. To help situate you, we are streaming to YouTube Live from Concordia University, which is located on unceded Indigenous lands in Tiohtià:ke, Montreal. A note of caution, we're hosting this as a live-streamed event from here and on location, so things can happen and video and connectivity issues are to be expected. Please stick with us as we show you around. We are running this event as a Zoom meeting, so we do welcome your comments and questions via the chat if you're joining by Zoom. For those of you in the space, if you'd like to participate, do just let us know by raising a hand and we'll get a microphone to you. It is my pleasure to hand it over to our offsite team and Dr. Mitchell McLarnon, Assistant Professor in Education.
Yep, we can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear us? Wonderful. So here we are, and here we are with Mitch. Maybe this might look a little familiar to some of you who've been sticking with us for these live walks for a year, but maybe you could tell us where we are.
So we're back in the basement of the CSLP, that's the Center for the Study of Learning and Performance. And we're about to step into what we're now calling the Grow Lab. So come on in. So here we are. Well, first of all, we moved a lot of garden materials outside to the actual garden that you'll see in a moment. But we've also set up a bit of a growing station with a number of LED lights, peat pods, pots, etc. And they're resting on former beehives or, maybe future beehives. And yeah, this is kind of where we're hoping to start a number of gardens here at Concordia, but also for local schools and for different community-based organizations. And the idea here is that one of these trays will actually turn into a garden at some point. So yeah, this is where we're at in the Grow Lab. It's also an awesome location where we're storing a bunch of our materials as well. We got our drills, we have our garden tools, we have screws. I have some boots here that I wear when it's wet and cold. And what you're looking at right now is actually a honey extraction kit. So that's been used in the past with students and teachers of local schools, and we've done some cool honey extraction workshops in the past, and maybe we'll move there in the future. Yeah, so this is kind of the redesigned former shower of the Center for the Study of Learning and Performance, and we're now using it as our growing space.
Amazing. So obviously, things get started here, but this isn't where they end.
No.
So maybe we'll go topside and check out where these babies have been growing all year.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Absolutely.
All right, fourth space. We're about to make a climb here, so we might have some tech issues, but we'll be with you shortly. Wow, we have you here, Mitch. What stairs are we going up here? What building is this again?
Yeah, we're still in the CSLP. Now we're moving to the main floor of the CSLP. This is an amazing research center affiliated with the Department of Education. Major supporter of the work that we've been doing with the garden, and so I can't begin to express my gratitude for all the social and structural supports that the center's provided for me over the years. And now we're leaving the building and we're gonna step into what's known as the Observation Nursery, which is also affiliated with the Department of Education. And this is a really, really cool facility. Let me put my hat on. This is a really, really cool facility that's part of the Department of Education, as I mentioned, but also part of the early childhood education program, all right? And in May and June, we had the opportunity to collaborate with a number of educators and young people from a few different daycares here on campus, as well as the educators who work here at the Observation Nursery. And we ran a series of climate change education workshops. And so many of these workshops occurred here in the Observation Nursery, and many of them occurred in the garden. And so as I walk out, I'll show you a little bit of this really cool, newly designed outdoor play area of the Observation Nursery. So this has been in the works for a long time. Big shout out to Nina Howe, Holly Recchia, Natalie Rothschild, and others from the Department of Education who just put in an immense amount of time, effort, and intent to get this space developed and funded. And as you can see, it's just beautifully designed.
Something you viewers might not be able to tell at home is that this is the bounciest, funnest floor I may have ever stepped on. Look at this.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's like cork. It feels like cork. Is that what it is, you know?
I don't know. It's amazing, whatever it is. Yeah, maybe it's like recycled tires or something like that.
Amazing. Safety
Yeah.
first.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can catch some beautiful brown-eyed Susans there. Come on out. And now we're heading to the garden.
Amazing. Our main event.
So as we start to walk towards the kind of southwest corner of the Grey Nuns grounds, we'll see that there's a newly designed garden space. And for those of you who remember what the garden looked like last year, it was about 10 canvas sacks. And they were awesome and they served a purpose, but the space and soil really needed some care, some repair, some regeneration. And last November, we managed to get a pretty big garden installed. And so this is our first growing season with the garden, and I'm super excited to share it with you. Yeah.
Well, we can already see that this garden is a lot busier than last year. There's kids playing and people running around and enjoying their lunches. Was that an aim and a chief aim when you guys started this project?
Obviously, we want as many people using the space as possible. We opened it as a teaching and research location, but it's a community garden. And so absolutely, we want everybody using the space as possible, as much as possible. I've used it in some of my graduate seminar teaching. I've also used it, like I mentioned, with my research team on some of the climate change education workshops that we've done in the garden. And yeah, absolutely, the hope is to continue to expand the space, not so much physically, but in terms of its use. But in terms of people being here today, that has nothing to do with me. These are like summer camps who come and enjoy the green space on their own.
Amazing.
Come. Hey, Ariane, how's it going? Good, long time no see.
Well, they might not have anything to do with you, but people seem to recognize you. You must be out and about here often.
I'm not as much as I'd like to be. I think that's just a really social young person. Yeah. So we're gonna walk all the way down to the end here, and we'll show you kind of the new setup where we have a wash basin and an area to actually clean some of the produce that we've grown in the garden.
Amazing. So Issa's giving us a little bit of a close-up view of some of the boxes that you have planted.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Wow. So how many boxes in total do you have now out of the canvas sacks?
So there are 10 by 3, 10 feet by 3 feet garden boxes that are about 8 inches deep with highly nutrient soil, highly nutrient-rich soil. And as Issa's kind of turning the camera on to what was meant to be a Three Sisters garden, you can see that this particular bed is far more shady than some of the other ones that we saw when we entered the garden space.
I think Issa's showing us why now. We have these large trees
That's it. So when we actually planted the garden, some of these trees were in bloom, but they weren't fully in bloom. So now we know this is a shady garden bed. So next year we might do things a little bit different. We might put the leafy greens in this garden bed and some of the other plants that require full sun in the actual full sun garden beds. And now Issa's having a look at this lovely Swiss chard and lavender. And the bed that Issa's looking at right now is an accessibility bed. So it's a little bit more raised, as you can see, and it's a little bit easier to access for those with additional support needs.
Yes, my knees, thank you. Now,
absolutely.
I just want to circle back to something because you mentioned a Three Sisters garden, and I'm aware, but but people at home might not be. So do you want to maybe talk a little bit about what that means?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Three Sisters Garden is a traditional Haudenosaunee growing method that brings corns, beans, and squash together, and they work in synergy to kind of complement each other's growing style. Now, I'll point everybody to an amazing chapter in Braiding Sweetgrass written by Robin Wall Kimmerer. It's just a beautiful, beautiful piece of writing that describes the importance of Three Sisters Gardens to different Indigenous nations across Turtle Island. So,
amazing.
yeah.
I'll second that recommendation. Braiding Sweetgrass, it's a great book, everyone. And so we had the Three Sisters Garden. We have these two accessibility beds over here that are a little bit higher off the ground. Is there a bed that's like your favorite or a favorite vegetable or a high performer this year?
The high performer this year is definitely the Swiss chard.
Oh, yeah.
It got full sun and it got a lot of love. But I think it's really important to note, the Swiss chard's all the way at the end. That's an amazing bed. The Ganawage Mohawk beans are doing really well as well, that are growing vertically up the structure just on the right. Those are both looking
right
great.
there. It's right there that she's holding.
That's exactly it. Those are the Ganawage Mohawk beans. They're lovely.
Wonderful.
In terms of seed saving, it's just a beautiful seed to save.
I love the structure, the beanpole structure you guys have got. It's like a net almost in the back there.
Yep.
Is that something you guys built, or are these?
Yeah, so we when we built these beds, this was part of it. We wanted to ensure that we're able to maximize growing space, and that sometimes means growing vertically, right? So beans grow vertically, peas grow vertically, squash can grow vertically with the right support, cucumbers as well will grow vertically. So many plants that climb or that have grip will grow vertically, and so that was the plan here with the beans.
Nice.
To grow them vertically.
Take note, those of you with balconies. I think East is almost approaching that end, the Swiss chard there. Look at it, beautiful.
Yeah, we had a ton of kale in at one point, but we've done really, really well this summer to feed the squirrels and the groundhogs and the raccoons, and so they got most of the kale.
They're well fed.
They're well fed. They're even eating some of the brown-eyed Susans and the Cherokee coneflower and the echinacea. So yeah, they're well fed, and
Oh, beautiful. But look, we still have some things going into bud.
Yeah, that's a very high producing bed.
And so, speaking of things going into bud, so where are you at in the season? Like, obviously there's still Swiss chard, but has there been a major harvest, or is that coming?
The major harvest has basically been conducted by the squirrels and groundhogs. We have some squash growing. We have one or two cucumbers growing. We do have to cut back the lavender so that it'll produce to its full potential next year. And yeah, I think the next move is to harvest what we can, clean up the beds, and see what we can do for kind of a late summer, early fall attempt at growing some things. You know, like certain seeds we can sow, we can put some radishes in the ground. They will germinate in cold weather. Look at the cucumber here, not bad.
Oh, nice.
Not bad. Yeah.
That's a cucumber.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. So yeah, that would be the next move, is like trimming back some of the herbs, clearing out the beds, and then having a go at what we might be able to do at the end of the summer. Certain peas, like Oregon snow peas, will with the right care and attention, come to fruition and maturity. But also, when October hits, would love to have some of these beds be devoted to garlic.
Nice.
We'll plant our garlic in the fall, and we'll have it coming up sometime around now next year.
That's lovely.
Maybe for the next series, the closer look at the Grey Nuns Gardens 3.0.
That's it, in 2026. Well, we have some people actually here with us that might want to ask a question, but I also know that there's some people online. Okay. So Jax, if you have any questions coming in there, let us know. Is there anyone here who has a question who would like to ask? No? All right, that's fair enough. I know my question for you, Mitch, is so beyond the garlic beds, beyond fall, what are you hoping traction-wise in the next few years? What are you hoping to see? Anything big?
Yeah. Absolutely. So, want as many people using the space as possible. I'd love to see, we open this as a new teaching and research location on campus. So obviously, a lot of our research projects are anchored here in the garden. We're working on a project that's funded by the Ministère de l'Éducation du Québec, and we've been doing some garden-based learning here. And so, yeah, we're going to be producing some videos. We've designed a number of pedagogical worksheets, and we're also putting my graduate level seminar around education for climate justice open access across the province in the next year. So that's going to be the start of some of our work. But you know, gardens aren't something that every school has, right? Some schools in downtown Montreal don't even have a green space, right? So we want to continue to host educators and students here in Grey Nuns on campus so that we can provide some of the social and structural supports in order to ensure that as many people have access to this type of a learning opportunity as possible.
That's wonderful. You're right. I mean, just looking around at all of the greenery and all of the action that's going on, it's obviously a very special space.
It is, Bertie. It is a really special space. Yeah.
That needs cultivating. So thank you.
Yeah.
And why don't you show us this is a new purchase, right? This is a big ticket item.
Yes, this was part of it, right? So as the garden continues to grow, as we learn more about the space, as we're able to produce more and more food, we're gonna actually use this sink basin to rinse off our Swiss chard, right? So the hose actually connects to the faucet, the water runs through, and we do a lot of our cleaning right here. So for those of you who are craving some Swiss chard, well, help yourself, connect the hose, give it a little rinse, and then you're ready to take it home. So yeah, so this is a big part of it, right? We could kind of collect our harvest here, and then we could rinse it off right in the garden. No need to go anywhere else.
Amazing. Those of you who are looking for a lunch spot and maybe some lunch, you know where to go.
There it is. There's a cucumber. Yeah.
Exactly. There's half a cucumber.
There's some nasturtiums.
Thank you so much. Actually, we do have 2 questions here in the space, so I'm going to hand the microphone off to our audience members shortly. I'd just like to remind those on Zoom, if you have any questions, please feel free to pop them into the chat, and we'll do our best to get them to Mitch. Here's our first question.
Hi, this is Josephine from the Center for Teaching and Learning. Thanks, Mitchell, for the tour. I often have lunch in this garden, so it's really cool to learn a bit more about it. I'm wondering if you take volunteers for the garden. And then my second question is, can I also talk to you about maybe hosting a class here too?
Oh, yeah. Please. That would be great. I'd love to connect with you. I'd love to figure out exactly what the needs are. In terms of volunteers, yeah. I think that's where we're heading. This summer we kept it mostly to the research team just because there was so much happening off the hop. We needed to get things planted. We were doing workshops. But yeah, I would be willing to accept some volunteers, of course. Gardens, you know, when I ask people to think about gardens for social, educational, and environmental purposes, I often ask people to consider 4 things: land, labor, funding, and history, right? And so when I think about volunteers, that kind of falls under the labor part of it. And over the last decade, we've worked in a series of different garden locations on university campuses, in community-based organizations, at schools. And so, yeah, kind of securing long-term garden labor is really important for the futurity of the garden. So yeah, I think as we move into a much more organized understanding of our actual needs, we'll be able to set up like very specific volunteer tasks on the regular, once or twice a week. So yeah, that's kind of where we're heading. Thanks so much, Josephine, and I look forward to speaking with you.
Amazing. Is there any other questions coming up from Forest Space?
Yes, we actually have one just out front here.
Good afternoon. Thanks for the presentation. My name is Robert. I'm visiting Montreal, and I think you've touched on it already, but do you foresee in the future extending this to the high schools to get them more active and perhaps more linked with the university, etc.? I think you've sort of touched on it already. Maybe you've done work elsewhere in that regard. Thank you very much, by the way.
Yeah, thanks so much. So some of our past work and current work has been anchored at different community-based organizations and local schools. We were working with a local school earlier this year. So yeah, we've certainly been part of installing gardens and supporting and maintaining and sustaining gardens with different schools. Not so much with high schools recently, only with elementary schools this past year. So yeah, I think that's definitely the hope. But also, and this is something that I've said on Loop for a number of years, is that, often teachers, educators, schools want to need a garden, but what they really need sometimes is like financial support, human resource support, curricular freedom, more time, fewer students, no austerity measures, and ultimately better social, environmental, and educational policies. So yeah, the garden is well, gardens teach us a lot about our planet, but it's an incredible lens to better understand how certain processes work, whether it's through climate change mitigation discourse or whether it's through just learning. So yeah, that's the hope, but ultimately I want to make sure that whoever we're collaborating with wants a garden or wants at least some type of garden support before we engage with them.
That's actually something you've highlighted a little bit in your research about identifying the specific use for a garden. Do you maybe want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, always. Thank you so much for the question too, Bertie. Yeah, so like often we garden just because it's cool, and I've definitely done that in the past, right? So I often ask people to really and explicitly articulate the exact purpose of the garden. Is the garden to raise awareness about climate change mitigation efforts, climate action? Great. How are we going to do that? Is the garden designed to increase biodiversity and pollination? Okay. How are we actually doing that? I want to know how we're doing certain things. Is the garden designed to produce food for food security purposes? Well, yeah. So some of our past work has attempted to do this, right? We've actually had gardens and community-based organizations working with people who are experiencing homelessness, barriers to education and employment, and food insecurity. And what we found through some of our research is that, the garden did really well to modestly support food security efforts, things like a meal, things like a food box in the short term. But when we were working closely with different community-based organizations, not once did the organization ever reduce their order from Montreal Central Food Bank. So gardens can certainly increase food security, but again, it goes back to labor. Like gardening is hard. It's hard physical labor and it's a long-term commitment. And so in order to garden for food security, you basically have to be gardening full time.
A farmer, yeah.
So yeah, and look, this is a massive growing space. If we devoted this exclusively to food production, we would be able to feed a few people for about a month, 2 months, but that's about it. Yeah,
Right.
and that's based on my experience. I'm sure other people would say, well, hang on, I could do 4 months. Well, you're a better gardener than me.
Or you're eating less.
Yeah, or you're definitely eating less than I am, yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Mitch. This has been lovely. Do we have any other questions of ForSpace before we wrap up there, Jax?
No, I do think we are good.
Okay, great. Well, thank you everyone for joining us, both at ForSpace and online. And thank you again to yourself, Mitch. This is fabulous
Thank
and
you.
wonderful. And we can't wait to come back next year
Next
and
August.
see
Let's
what
book it.
else.
Yeah,
All right.
amazing. Thanks so much.
Amazing. Thank
Bye
you.
now.